all this craziness with all the Spider-Man and all this stuff,
Loki,
and Doctor Strange, hopefully that gets sucked back into one timeline with Secret Wars, and then whatever they do after is like, this is the timeline now, because they're smart. Because I have felt multiverse fatigue for a while.
It's a lot, and it just feels like you're undoing all the groundwork that has been laid so far.
And it's a way to get around choppy storytelling and plot holes and stuff, but also it's a very friendlier term for fan service and nostalgia. All right, Lacey, let's get the Glenn Powell stuff out of the way early. So Glenn Powell, at least one of the Glenn Powells, is starting filming on The Running Man this fall. What do you think about that?
I've never seen the movie, but Matt loves Arnold Schwarzenegger, so he loves The Running Man. And when I told him, when we watched The Hunger Games years ago, when I was like in my Hunger Games phase, that I was all obsessed with it, Matt kept telling me that like The Running Man is basically The Hunger Games. They stole this idea from The Running Man. So I'm interested to see my boy Glenn Powell take this on. And it's from Edgar Wright, which I feel like it's going to have an awesome soundtrack.
Yeah, do you think will Matt watch remakes of things, or is he like, screw that, 1987 Arnold, I don't need
No, he'll watch remakes, and he likes Glenn Powell too, so.
Well, because I'm sometimes like that, like the new Crow, couldn't care less.
But I know you've said that.
I love the Brandon Lee one. But yeah, Glenn Powell, Running Man, he seems to make smart choices, so until he gives us a movie that has a real stinker, I'm gonna
or has done something terrible, which I'm hoping he hasn't.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to Nerdy and Nice. We hope you enjoyed our live show last week. We'll probably do some more of those in the future. And we're also going to be, getting some guests and doing questions. And while doing this show, we've been really busy with Star Wars, covering the Acolyte. So now that is over, we're going to start ramping things up now that, we're over 10 episodes in. So we're just scratching the surface here. So if you are new to this podcast, or you've been with us since the first episode, thank you for supporting us. It's just going to get better from here. And of course, if you like Star Wars, the Resistance broadcast on its own feed, but both shows are on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TRBpodcast. But
if you like this one, please go leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts, because we appreciate it. It lets people know that we're here, what we're doing, why you like the show. It gives us feedback. We truly appreciate it, because we know you guys have come over. A bunch of you have come over from TRB, but this is a whole new show, whole new feed. So we appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen, if you can leave us a rating, hopefully 5 stars and a review. I agree. That would
1 star, less Glenn Powell.
Don't say that, because now someone will be like, you know what?
Okay, I'm sorry.
She wants it. She gets it. 1 star.
Please don't do that. How about 5 stars? More Glenn Powell.
We don't want to make Lacey sad, guys. Come on. But Lacey, before we get into, obviously the title gives it away, we have some big Marvel news to talk about. We gotta talk DC. Maybe James Gunn put this out there because of the buzz Marvel was getting. They like the friendly competition, but James Gunn has apparently revealed, to the surprise of me at least, that Superman is actually close to being done filming already.
That means they must have been doing this for a while. Like the scenes that we've been talking about here on the show that have been taking place in Cincinnati, they must have been doing a lot of other stuff elsewhere.
Cleveland. Are they also in Cincinnati?
I thought it was Cincinnati. Is it Cleveland? I'm sorry. 2 C names. My bad.
Hey, it's in Ohio. That's enough. It's Columbus.
You know what it is? Honestly, you're going to laugh at me about this. Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce went to Cincinnati. So they're always wearing Cincinnati hats. So that's, I guarantee that's why that was in my brain.
Are you
Travis Kelce hit someone the other day? Did you see that? He was in a golfing tournament. No, he was in a golf tournament and he sliced it and it knocked some lady in the back of the head.
I'm telling you, he's a dangerous guy.
He felt so bad, she said.
Obviously, it's an accident. I'm kidding. But I'm a little tired of hearing about them. You're not tired of hearing about them?
I'm just explaining why Cincinnati was in my head. I know that Cleveland is like where the Superman stuff was taking place.
Oh, all right. Right on. Yeah, so Superman almost done filming. So it looks like most of the stuff that they filmed, James Gunn sometimes will pop in and reply to articles to debunk them, or fans who ask like fair questions. And someone said, hey, James Gunn, seeing a lot of photos from Superman floating around, should I be nervous that it's spoiling the movie? And he said, not at all. So I think a lot of what we're seeing is going to be part of a montage where he saves a kitten out of a tree. He saves a kid from
like Spider-Man,
an ice cream truck. Or it's going to be like that montage showing like there's Superman on the street doing good things for people. Extra, extra. Here's the newspaper. Because a lot of the people in the crowd, like the extras and stuff, look dressed like from like a different era, like the 60s or something. But it seems like it's going to take place now. So it's a very interesting universe he's creating, which is pretty cool because I don't see a cell phone in sight from the crowd. So
and they have like kind of 80s clothes on, it looks like
early 80s, late 70s.
Yeah, that's what Lois Lane looks like. She's dressed very 80s, like the high.
She looks exactly like comic book Lois Lane. It's pretty cool. But all right, so I got to check off my DC box, so now it's time to dive into some Marvel stuff. So Lacey, what's happening?
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
Big news this week. I guess the Russo brothers are back in. We've been talking a lot about, is Sean Levy going to take over the Avengers? Who else is up for the running for taking on the mantle of the Avengers? When is Marvel going to give us any details on the Avengers? Have been all the questions we've asked, which, by the way, we did mention when we talked about Sean Levy a couple weeks ago, that we thought, the both of us, the reason he would say no to the Avengers is because he's doing his Star Wars movie. And guess what? It came out today or this past week that he's not doing the Avengers because he's focusing on his Star Wars movie. And man, did we get it right. And not only did we get it right, but that's a win for us because he's awesome. And I can't wait to see Deadpool.
It's like when the Yankees and Red Sox would compete for a free agent and the guy would sign with the Yankees. I'd be like, yes, he's on our team.
Yeah.
Sean Levy actually wants to be involved with Star Wars. Yes.
And he's not afraid to talk about it. Like, I feel like no one is telling him like, hey, maybe you don't talk about it. And they just don't care.
I tweeted about
or
that
he doesn't care.
Wednesday. I said, it is wild that Sean Levy, on the precipice of releasing what might be one of the biggest movies of the year, Stranger Things also, is talking about doing the Star Wars movie for like the last year. And now he confirms his writer. And all of this is happening with Disney and Lucasfilm still having not announced this project. That to me is wild. But
do you think we had thought previously that they're waiting to see how Deadpool does? Do you think that's still the case? Or do you think they're waiting for D23?
It could be D23. Yeah.
They're probably waiting for D. He's spoiling it before then because he doesn't care.
No,
but he's showing up everywhere. He was in the Stranger Things reel last week. He's in, talking about the Avengers. And of course, he's everywhere with Deadpool. It's like Sean Levy. It's like his time right now.
He's very smart at like understanding. Well, and we'll talk more about this on TRV Live, but
we'll also get to Sean Levy a little bit later, talking about another Marvel project. But let's get back to the Russo brothers. So sources say that they're in early talks to return to Marvel Studios to direct not just one, but the next 2 Avengers movies, is what these sources tell The Hollywood Reporter. So for those of you that don't know, which I'd be surprised that you didn't, but if you don't, with a decade ago, they directed Captain America: The Winter Soldier. They did Captain America: Civil War. They did Avengers: Infinity War and Avengers: Endgame, which combined their Marvel films grossed $6.681 billion with a B with Endgame, standing as the number 2 movie of all time globally with 2.79 billion. So basically they're kind of the safe choice because they've made money
Yeah.
for Disney and Marvel. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't you fall back onto them?
Right.
So yeah, they're up for to take on what's next for the Avengers, which is kind of a big question mark right now with what's going on with the Kang Dynasty, Jonathan Majors, as the time traveling villain Kang, but I don't think he's coming back. They cut ties with the actor. John, what do you think is going to happen with these films, and do you think the Russos are going to say yes?
Yeah, it seems like this is the real deal.
Mm.
I was just
And did they leak this story themselves?
that could be interesting.
Yeah.
I was just trying to quickly Google to see whether or not I can find out the relationship with Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers, because I think that's like a huge part of all this. Because,
Well, they did kill Iron Man to the much
but yeah,
hatred of Jon Favreau.
so is this the correction of that? Like, I know this is stupid to do. I am at the point where I am 100% convinced that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, that he's going to be in this, and
You
that's
definitely
what's
are.
going to
Yeah.
But what's interesting now is now that the Kang thing is gone and they're not doing the Kang Dynasty, they're basically resetting the first movie. It's going to have a new title and a new focus. And it's interesting with the Russo brothers coming in to say, like, well, their focus, was Captain America, obviously, also Iron Man. Does that mean Chris Evans comes back? How does that, go against what's going on with Anthony Mackie's Captain America? So there's a lot of questions there. But it looks like Secret Wars is still going to be the 6th movie. And I did a Google in because I don't remember reading this particular comic. I read comics, like I was reading comics when I was like 8 to like 14 years old in like the early mid 90s or whatever. And I read a lot of Batman, but I did read Marvel stuff, but I don't remember Secret Wars or when it came out.
I remember Civil War specifically because there's a whole big plot line that happens in Stamford, Connecticut. Yeah, but I never got into Secret Wars.
So I Googled it, and apparently what happens in the comics in Secret Wars is it ends the multiverse. And I'm like, so they've
into one timeline?
I think so. So all this craziness with all the Spider-Man and all this stuff,
Loki,
and Doctor Strange, hopefully that gets sucked back into one timeline with Secret Wars, and then whatever they do after is like, this is the timeline now, because they're smart. Because I have felt multiverse fatigue for a while.
It's a lot, and it just feels like you're undoing all the groundwork that has been laid so far.
And it's a way to get around choppy storytelling and plot holes and stuff, but also it's a very friendlier term for fan service and nostalgia, because that's what it was. Oh, who's gonna hop out of this ring next? Oh, it's Tobey Maguire now. Imagine if Star Wars did that. People would be like, oh my god, Star Wars is so cheesy. It's so stupid.
That's basically the world between worlds. Like, who would hop through the gateway?
Yeah, I guess, but they haven't done that in a major motion picture yet.
I'm just saying it could.
Like, it'd be like Harrison Ford standing in the living room with Han Solo, and then Alden Ehrenreich jumps through the ring, and he's like, "I'm also Han Solo," and they're like, "Let's go hang out and do stuff."
Yeah, it is weird. It definitely is weird. The Spider-Man thing's a little bit more. There's more ability to explain that.
They did a good job with that, and I know people are listening like, John, shut up. I love that. That was the best thing ever. And you're right, and I'm happy for you. I'm just having some fun with it. That's all. I think that's a really cool thing that they did too. But I think this is smart. Why try to reinvent the wheel when you already have one that worked to the 2nd highest grossing movie of all time? So there's not much else to say to this. I just think it's funny how we heard they were out and now they're back in. And
a week before Comic-Con?
Yeah, and apparently they thought they were out too. They had told people. So something changed, and I don't know.
Sean Levy said no.
Sean Levy saying no, but also maybe Disney's like, all right, you lost the actor, you lost the writer, like, you guys just what's
correct the
going?
ship.
Yeah, bring
correct.
those guys back. Let's go. Enough's enough. Stop trying to be too cute with this. Let's get back to where we know it works and get
I
after
could see
it.
Bob giving them a call, being like, "We need you back."
Yeah. And you know, Kevin Feige, I think, still has
Kevin
a
could be
lot.
on the call with Bob, but I think
Yeah.
it's a Bob call.
Yeah, he has a lot of faith from the fans still, Kevin Feige, even though Marvel has stumbled. But now with DC, like I was saying last week, we're sort of breathing down their necks. Superman's getting a lot of positive buzz. They're like, all right, we got to focus here. And it looks like they're going to reshape, retitle, refocus number 5. And we'll see who writes. Because the Russo brothers, I'm lazy for not knowing this. They didn't write. Did they write the movies too? Or did they just direct them?
I think they just directed them.
Yeah, so it's curious
Pretty
to see
sure.
what they do with the story for this one. But yeah, I think it's a smart move.
And speaking of other Marvel movies, including multiple versions of said character,
Oh god.
Deadpool versus Wolverine, Deadpool 3, right? Is this 3 or 4? 3.
3.
3. With Sean Levy, directed by Sean Levy, is coming out soon. In about 10 days. They released by the time this spoiler alert, the time this episode airs, it's less than that. It's probably like 6 days, 5 days. Anyway, this week Deadpool comes out and they're releasing more TV spots and trailers to get your butts in the seats in the movie theater. They've tried popcorn buckets. They've tried all the cute videos with Hugh and Ryan. And they're just giving you a little bit more teasers with more clips of characters. And this past teaser, they released a bunch of shots of the different types of Deadpool. They have Cowboy Deadpool, Lady Deadpool, the dog, obviously. Dogpool. So, first of all, John, how do you feel about there being multiple Deadpools, given that you just gave that explanation of Spider-Man? How do you think this is going to play into the multiverse? Do you think this is going to get slapped back into that one timeline? Because I think Deadpool's definitely making his jump to the Avengers. I think that's going to be a big part of this movie with the X-Men. I think that's their plan, to bring the X-Men in, Deadpool in, Avengers. We saw the hat that was the Avengers logo that Ryan was wearing with the anarchy thing over it in blood.
Yep.
And last but not least, who is Lady Deadpool? Who's playing
I know.
it? That's the big question everybody has. Options right now are Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds' wife and famous actress, or Taylor Swift.
Can I say?
So where do you want to start? I asked you like 6 questions.
So I'll start with all the Deadpools. I
Sure.
think that's fine. I don't compare that to the Spider-Man thing, because the Spider-Man thing is like, remember this dude who played Spider-Man 22 years ago?
Yeah.
Here he is.
Into the Spider-Verse, you have all the different Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Pig.
Yeah, or Loki with the Loki Gator and
Yes, exactly. Same thing.
yeah. So I think this would be funny, especially with Deadpool. It is so break the fourth wall. It's very tongue in cheek. Like, this is where you should do this stuff. It'd be weird if all these other franchises that are supposed to be these like really like high dramatic moments with Spider-Man and they're all together and they're crying and stuff, if they're doing it and Deadpool doesn't, I'd be like, what are you doing?
You have
like,
Deadpool shooting himself in the head in the last end credit scene.
That's what I mean. Like, this is exactly the movie you do all of this stuff in. So I'm glad they're doing it. And I like the whole dog pool story. I guess it was voted the ugliest dog in Britain or whatever.
Yeah.
And now he's a movie star, or she. I don't know, but
I think it's a she, because he talked about how long the nipples were in like an interview of the dog.
That made me think of Meet the Parents for some reason. The Lady Deadpool thing, I think it would be a really dumb thing if it was Taylor Swift. And the reason I say that is I think that would really date this movie to this time where it's the Taylor Swift hysteria and she's everywhere. And it's just like, I think the target audience for Deadpool are young dudes, and young dudes are not fans of Taylor Swift. And I
would
think
say older dudes.
And older dudes, and guys in the middle like me. But it's like, dudes,
It
I
does
guess.
skew male. Yes.
All dudes.
All dudes.
And I know, you're interested in Deadpool too. So I'm not saying it's all just dudes, but I think
I'm saying it
mostly
skews
it skews
male
to dudes.
oriented.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
it's rated R.
And it's rated R. But and I don't think mostly, I know there's always exceptions and there's pockets, but mostly guys don't like Taylor Swift. And the guys I know, my friends, normal dudes are they hate hearing about it, all that stuff. And that's just real world stuff. This isn't social media talk. This is real world, real life, talking with your friends. They're like, oh my God, Taylor Swift. Ah. So if she shows up as Lady Deadpool, people will be like, you got to be kidding me. I can't even go to the theaters to escape her. So it's like, I think that would be a bad move. I don't think this movie needs that publicity. I would rather see an actor actually play the play a character as opposed to seeing Taylor Swift. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just exhausted. I'm like Swifted out. And it's just like, now I'm going to go see a movie, the third movie in a franchise that I like. Wolverine's back and I got to see her as Deadpool. Like, does she need to be in everything? Let other people have a thing.
Well, here's the thing about that is that one, I think that there is a good probability it is Taylor Swift. Two, it is weird that they're not showing who it is, because if it is someone that's not important, why wouldn't you just show it? Who cares? It's Lady Deadpool in a mask anyway, so why don't you just show who it is? Unless that person is without a mask, which would give away who it is, which if it's a big cameo, it's probably Taylor Swift. Taylor in real life borrowed Ryan Reynolds' costume from Deadpool for Halloween years ago. She wore it around on Halloween, took pictures with it. He let her use the suit. It wouldn't surprise me if he said, look, I have this opportunity for you to play this character. Would you want to do it? And she said, yes. They're very close friends. She's, I believe, the godparents of their children or something, and is best friends with Blake Lively. It would not be surprising. And you also have to look at the evidence that Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds went to a football game with her this past season. She was known to be on the set. People were claiming that she was playing Dazzler, which is a singing specific character. But I'm not going to lie, I looked up videos of Taylor Swift walking around, and if you look at the two body types of the character of her and Taylor Swift and the way Taylor Swift walks, I was sending John screenshots. It looks very similar. Now, is there a chance it couldn't be her? Absolutely. But I think that it is her. And I think that Disney would be okay with that because of who it is.
I need to be clear. I am not a stupid man. I understand all of the points you're making. Yes. I completely get it. I just don't want this to happen.
No, I know. I'm explaining to the audience, the people listening, why I think it is. Plus, I went into a deep rabbit hole of trying to figure out who
you were. Well, let's just be real with our audience. You were texting me about her hip to waist ratio and her arm angles.
I said that Blake Lively has wider hips and has a bigger chest. That's just a fact. Blake Lively is gorgeous. She's curvy. She's beautiful.
You ever see The Town?
No, but I've seen Gossip Girl.
You haven't seen The Town?
No.
Oh, you would love it.
But this character has more of a fit body shape, athletic body shape, which Taylor Swift has. She's on concert all the time. She's running around. She's working out. She's doing crazy. Like, it just fits her. And then again, the walking looks very similar to the walking that Taylor does in her concert currently on tour right now, the Eras tour. When she's walking down the big catwalk, she walks like this character. And that's what I was showing John. And I was like, it just seems like it is her. And it would also be funny because, like you said, her audience is, I would say, obviously mostly women. And it would be a great cameo for women to enjoy if they are going on a date with their boyfriend or going on a date with their husband.
I understand. I agree. I'm just tired of everywhere I go, I have to see Taylor Swift. Like, seriously though, it's just like even things I love, I get tired of. Like, I love pizza, but after like 4 slices or 5 slices, I'm like, I'm all set.
That's a lie. You can eat a whole pizza.
I can eat a whole pizza, but sometimes I willed myself to do it. because I know it's at its best in that moment.
All right,
Like,
fair.
it's very rare to replicate.
Sure.
Which, by the way, I still need a pizza, but
I'm too. Calm down.
but yeah, I get all this and it's fine. I'm just tired of seeing Taylor Swift everywhere, and then this would just add another thing to it. And it probably is her, but I think it'd be even funnier because they're not showing her, and because they did have her with Sean Levy. She did have the Deadpool costume, all that stuff. It'd be funny if this was just a long troll and it's a completely random person. I think
I would
I
love it to
will.
be Blake, to be honest. If you were asking me who I want it to be, it's Blake. I want it to be his wife.
I want it to
Or
be
Ryan in a mask. That would be hilarious.
nobody.
Or like in a wig.
That would be pretty funny too. Yeah, I agree. But I want it to be a nobody, and I think that would be the ultimate. I would laugh so hard in the theater because everyone thinks it's, Taylor Swift. It'd be so funny if it was just some actress who's getting her break, you know.
Mhm.
But anyway, all in good fun. I'm still gonna love the movie regardless of who it is.
Mhm.
So, Lady Deadpool, show your face.
Continuing on with trending topics in pop culture, Stranger Things is the top of everybody's list right now. They just posted that reel that we talked about the other week when how the filming is going, and they're releasing more behind the scenes clips, and everybody's excited for the Duffer Brothers to finish up Stranger Things. It's been 10 years. So the big question is, when this is all done, what comes next? So they announced this week that Netflix ordered a new horror series from the Duffer Brothers and Haley Z. Boston. I did have to look up what she's done before,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess she has written for Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. Um, so she's written a story called Something Very Bad is Going to Happen, which takes place in an atmospheric horror series set at a wedding, following a bride and groom in the week leading up to their ill-fated nuptials. That's not a spoiler, just read the title. Something Very Bad is Going to Happen is the title of the show. So that's funny. But the Duffer Brothers said that they were knocked flat by this script when they read it. She's a major new talent, and her writing is, quote, twisted, terrifying, and funny. Just very Haley. So they feel lucky to produce her first show. So John, what do you think? Will you watch this? Are you interested?
I'm not the biggest horror fan. I do like more of the like real world type of horror stuff, like
True
slasher
crime.
stuff. Yeah,
Oh,
true
I was gonna
crime
say I
or
like true crime.
slashers. Yeah. But I do love Stranger Things, and that certainly has horror in it, no doubt about it. So I'll check it out because these guys, like, it's like when a band puts out a record and it's a hit, but then they never put out another, and you're like, oh, one hit wonder. Remember Chumbawamba, or remember, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But when a band starts, like, you're naming albums and you're like, holy cow, they have like 4 or 5 just epic albums. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no matter what they do after that, doesn't matter. Like, these dudes are on their 5th season, and the 4th season of it might have been its best of Stranger Things. Like, these guys are churning out big time stuff in a similar genre for the same studio, so to speak, streaming
Mm-hmm.
platform. I gotta check this out just out of curiosity. Even if the reviews are mixed, I don't care. I don't think I mean, Stranger Things was probably received pretty well at the beginning, but it didn't explode the way it did thereafter. It wasn't an immediate juggernaut. It took people a little bit to be like, "Oh, this thing
It
is
did
really
to get
great."
into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I am curious to hear more about this, but I will certainly check it out.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll give it a try. Maybe I'm not, I hate horror. I'm not a
Yeah.
horror person.
Mhm.
Um, but the way they describe it as funny, like twisted, wicked funny, is where they kind of hooked me, because I
That's a good
can
point.
like a horror movie or series when it has some humor to it to break up the craziness. When
Oh, yeah.
something gets so scary or so twisted and gore, I just tune out because it's just too much. Like, I need those breaks. So I'll probably check this out, and like you basically said, the Duffer Brothers just seem to have very good taste. and very good ideas of what's going to hit, what's a good story.
Mhm.
Clearly, they can tell a good story with Stranger Things. That's why they've been making this thing for a decade. Like it has to be a good story to last that long and stay just as popular. Last week they announced candles that are Things themed, like a waffle candle, an ice cream candle, a pineapple pizza candle, which is John's Christmas present this year. And
Oh, is it?
and a coffee candle, which is Hopper's coffee. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that when I saw that. I was like, well, John's getting a pineapple pizza candle this year.
Well, he's only gonna get pizza or something.
I'll stop. But yeah, I think I'll definitely check this out. I think the next thing is something that you will definitely check out, which is it has been confirmed, quote, by Jeff Snyder, that Robert Pattinson will appear in the Batman spin-off series The Penguin on HBO Max. So you watched The Batman, right?
Oh yeah,
Did you like it?
I did.
Did you like Colin Farrell's Penguin?
I did. Yeah.
That's good. I thought he was okay, but I just love Danny DeVito's. Like, I love the campiness of that one with Tim Burton. That like it's hard for me to get into these like super dramatic, realistic Batmans. I like the
understand.
campy versions more.
Yeah, I love the old Burgess Meredith one from the '60s show. So
sure. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I'm gonna check out the Penguin series just because it's not on the top of mind for me to watch. I will watch a second Batman movie though, which is coming out, I believe, in 2026, because the first one was just so beautifully done and the soundtrack is epic.
yes,
But what are your thoughts? Are you surprised that Robert Pattinson's showing up? Because I'm not.
I kind of am. I know that TV, especially of these premium services like HBO, really did set the bar for all this stuff with
Yes.
Sopranos, Sex and the City, Entourage, Game of Thrones. Like they were Curb, they were ahead of everybody with this stuff. But with this Penguin thing, like I did like Colin Farrell's Penguin in the Batman. I loved his over the top like mob voice. He's like, "Hey, come on, are you kidding me away?" You know, I thought it was so ridiculous, but it was so cool, and I loved it.
Mhm.
But when I heard they were making the show, I'm like, this is so stupid. I don't need a show for this guy. But now that I hear this, I'm like, I'm gonna watch it. So it's like, whoever leaked this, it's a smart leak, because if you are telling me that Batman's gonna be in this show, that means this show is gonna mean something. It's not just a sideshow for a sideshow to get people to watch it to make money. It's a sideshow, and if Batman's going to be in it, that means it could have implications for the Batman 2, that it immediately increases my vested interest. So good for them, whoever put that out, because I went from saying like I couldn't care less about this and liking that character too, the Colin Farrell Penguin, going from that to I'm going to watch it now. So
Nice. I hope people enjoy it. I think people really, really loved Batman with Robert Pattinson. I think it surprised a lot of people, especially those of us that know him from Twilight were very surprised to hear that he was now playing Batman, but I really think he made it his own. So I hope he has a good time on set.
Every time someone is cast as Batman, people are like, that guy?
Yeah, every time.
Even dating back to Michael Keaton, they're like, Mr. Mom is Batman?
Yeah.
Like there were articles. I don't remember them because I was 7. I was like, it's Batman. Like, yes.
Yeah.
But people were pissed about that. People were pissed about Val Kilmer. People were pissed about Ben Affleck. People were pissed about Heath Ledger as the Joker.
I remember that. People were
And now that should have ended all of these things, but now people still do it. They're like, Twilight guys,
I don't see it.
And he was good. He was good.
Yeah. But now let's get into what everybody thinks is good in the sense of Emmy nominations.
The awards.
It's a big, hairy American winning machine. If you ain't first, you're last.
All right, let's talk about the Emmys. Lacey, the full list has been released for the 2024 awards. I'm not the biggest awards guy. I don't know, the self-gratitude and all that stuff.
The best one I watched was the Oscars this past year with Ryan Gosling. That was the best Oscars I've watched in a long time.
It looks like they're trying to make an effort to make it more entertaining.
Yeah.
and less stuffy and boring and soapboxy and all that stuff. But anyway, the Emmys are out, and we're not going to sit here and run through the whole list, so please don't turn off the podcast. We're not going to torture you in that way. I just thought we have the list, we take a look at it. What stands out to us? What are we maybe interested in rooting for or hearing about? So Lacey, I don't know, did you get a chance to look at the list? I know it's been crazy, but
I did. I was actually thought we were going to run through it, and I was going to tell you which person I think is going to win all these things, because there's a lot of people in here that get, are up for things again, and sometimes I think those are the people that tend to win
Sure.
again and again
all
and
right.
again.
Do you want to just do quick predictions?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Like literally just say the person's name. Like we don't have to get into like.
No. Just say what it is. Yeah, and then we can
All
talk
right,
about it a little bit.
All right. Let me see. All right. I
Start
got
at
the
the
list
top.
up. All right. So outstanding drama series. You got
I think
The
it's going to.
Crown.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
You got The Crown, Fallout, The Gilded Age, The Morning Show, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Shogun, Slow Horses, Three Body Problem.
So I'll say what I want to win, and then what I think is going to win.
Okay.
I would love for Fallout to win,
Mhm.
but I think Shogun is going to win because everybody's been talking about that one.
Interesting.
Or The Crown.
I want Fallout to win too, even though I still have to finish it.
I have to finish it too. Yeah.
But for some reason, I feel like The Morning Show is going to win because I noticed like every friggin' actor in that show is being nominated for acting awards too.
That says nothing. Steve Carell was nominated every year for The Office and never won because that guy from Big Bang won.
All right. Are we betting food on all these?
No.
All right. All right. Next, we have outstanding comedy series, which I have things to say about this anyway.
Okay, read them off and then talk about it.
Abbott Elementary, The
Mhm.
Bear.
Mm-hmm.
I say The Bear. Curb Your Enthusiasm, Hacks, Only Murders in the Building, Palm Royale, Reservation Dogs, and What We Do in the Shadows. So I think Curb Your Enthusiasm should win because it's the last rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Bear is going to win.
I think that who won last year? Wasn't it The Bear? I think The Bear won last year. I think that Curb is going to win this year. I want Curb to win this year.
Right.
I think what will win will probably be either The Bear or Abbott Elementary because people love Abbott Elementary.
They do. I always hear people talking about that.
Yeah. Well, Quinta won last year, didn't she?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, here's my big problem. The Bear is not a comedy.
It's not. I was about to say that.
I don't know if this is a tactic to, because
like people do with their podcast listings.
Like people do with their podcast listings, or sometimes what actors will do, that they'll be like, all right, you crush that performance, but look who you're going against for the Oscars and the Golden Globes. Let's go for the supporting here.
Supporting, yes.
And yeah. And then you increase your chances. I don't know if the Bear showrunners or the studio, the producers feel like we don't want to. The competition for dramas is way more, but the Bear is not a comedy.
I was gonna say, do you watch it?
Yeah.
Is it funny?
No, it is.
Why is it?
So,
I don't understand.
I mean, there is humor in it. It is not a comedy. It is a very heavy drama. It is very stressful. It is very real feeling, and it has really intense, serious moments like suicide, like really serious.
Maybe they're
stuff.
saying comedy in the sense of like a Shakespearean comedy, which isn't necessarily like funny, but it's like, I don't know.
I get all that, but it's not a comedy.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it's a cheap way to get out of being in the drama.
And I like the show. I'm not through all of this season yet, but I do really like the show. I'm vested in it. I care about the characters, and that's always the paramount for me. So
yeah,
I whatever. I think it might win. Maybe it should win. I don't.
I think Curb should win. Yeah.
I want Curb to win for sure.
But
yeah.
I think The Bear is something that everybody's talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll get to that in a minute if it's on the list. But
Sure.
all right, we got outstanding limited or anthology series: Baby Reindeer, Fargo, Lessons in Chemistry, Ripley, or True Detective Night Country. I have a weird feeling that Baby Reindeer could win this just because
I was going to say the same thing because I haven't heard anybody talk about anything else. And in fact, True Detective, people hated that.
yeah, they hit that. I didn't even remember it was called Night Country. And I remember people being like, Jodie Foster, she's going to be like
Yeah.
her character in Silence of the Lambs. I didn't care. I didn't really get into it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Baby Reindeer. Everything I saw about it, people were talking about Baby Reindeer.
Because it's the guy's actual story, so that's compelling. And it blindsided everybody. And when something comes out of nowhere without people forcing it on you, there is an attraction to that with these academies. So I think Baby Reindeer could definitely win that. Fargo, I know, is also very popular, but outstanding lead actress in a drama series: Jennifer Aniston, Carrie Coon, Maya Erskine, Anna Sawai, Imelda Staunton, and Reese Witherspoon. Now, Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston are on the same show. Do they cancel each other out with voters? I
think it's going to be Anna Sawai from Shogun.
I think it might be Maya Erskine from Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Because everyone's talking about Shogun. That's all I see online is people talking about
I haven't seen it yet. Have you watched it?
Neither have I, but it's on my list of things to check out. I don't know. Is it Apple?
We better look it up soon.
We should look it up. Do you want me to go into the next one? Who do you think, by the way?
I think
it's going to be Maya.
Maya Erskine. Yeah, let's do that. Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Next is outstanding lead actor in a drama series, which is Idris Elba, Donald Glover, Walton Goggins, Gary Oldman, oh my God, I'm going to slaughter this name and I feel so bad. Hiroyuki Sanada, and then Dominique West. I think that this person is going to be Walton Goggins. Sorry, Walton Goggins. I want him to win, and I think he is going to win.
I agree completely.
He's played an iconic character that everybody is talking about. So yeah. I'm going to say him.
He is a very versatile actor. Did you ever watch Sons of Anarchy?
No, but I see everybody posting about Fallout with him, and then I guess the show he's on that's like called Principles or something like that. Where he plays like a teacher or something. Like I see people posting clips of that all the time, and it's always him. He
played a trans woman in Sons of Anarchy, and he was so good. It's just like the dude he's like 50, right?
I don't know, but his character in Fallout is so good.
It is very good, and I guess people who like the game also liked that interpretation or whatever. Yeah. But he's a great talent, and I don't know why he hasn't been. And obviously, oh my God, I don't know why I'm blanking on it. The show he did with Timothy Oliphant, Justified. Yeah, he's great.
Does he play a cowboy in that?
Sort of. He plays like his like rival or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But it's he was great in that. Like he's just a really he's a talent, and he's finally getting his due. So yeah.
So where is Shogun? Is it Hulu?
Oh, I stopped looking because
I feel like Shogun is Hulu. Now that I think about it, pretty sure.
If it is, that's good news for me. Hulu. Yep.
Aha. Up next is outstanding lead actress in a comedy series. We have Quinta Brunson, Ayo Edebiri. Yeah. Selena Gomez, Maya Rudolph, Jean Smart, Kristen Wiig. I'm gonna say I think Ayo's gonna win it. I would like for her to win it. I like her as an actress. I think she's funny. I think she'll give a funny speech. She's won previously. I think she's gonna win it again. She won last year. That's right.
Yeah, she's great in The Bear. There's no doubt about it. But I want Selena Gomez to win just because I'm a fan of hers. I think she really comes across as like such a good person, good heart, and I think she's she's holding her own against two comedy legends.
And they love her. They invite her to like their events and stuff.
Yeah, and that says a lot to her character, but also the fact that she's holding her own against those two on that show is huge because she can easily be overshadowed by them and not even be considered on this. And the fact that she is monstrous. Now, Ayo's in a big cast too. I think she does win. I agree with you, but I want Selena to win.
I could agree with that. I think Selena would be a good win too.
Yeah.
Next is Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series. We have Matt Berry, Larry David, Steve Martin. Oh my God, this is a loaded one. Martin Short, Jeremy Allen White, and Defaro Wunatai. I have no idea who that is. I need to Google that. I feel terrible not knowing who this is. Go ahead. Who do you think? I think Larry David's going to win it, but
I would love for Larry David to win it. I don't think they're going to give it to him. Curb is hilarious. Curb is awesome. It lasted for 20 something years. But it's an improvisational show. It's a lot of off the cuff stuff. I think what Jeremy Allen White has to do for the Bear involves a lot more effort, and that's no disrespect.
But is it comedy though?
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if like it's in the category, but are the voters of the Academy voters going to be like, no, I'm not voting for this guy for this because of this. So I want Larry David to win. I also love Steve Martin Short, but I think Jeremy Allen White's going to win.
Interesting. Next is Outstanding Lead Actress in a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie. We have Jodie Foster, Brie Larson, Juno Temple, Sofia Vergara, and Naomi Watts. I want Sofia Vergara to win, and I think she will.
Really?
She did that Griselda show on Netflix, which I'm assuming is what she's nominated, because they don't, by the way, say what they're nominated for. They just have their names. And she was incredible in that. That's something that I watched. She was very, very good in that. And they put like this ugly nose on her because you have to like make her more not good looking because she's so far off Sofia Vergara. But she is so good. It's so I highly recommend it if you're into that kind of thing. It's like a thriller, drug deal type show.
I do like her a lot.
She's great. It's like nothing like Modern Family. I was going in being like, what do I expect? She is acting her butt off in the series.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's impressive when you think about it.
Yeah.
But
I didn't get your joke there. Yeah.
I think Brie Larson is going to win.
For what? What is she in for?
The what's it? Lessons in Chemistry. I think she wins, but I would love for Sofia Vergara to win. So that's where I'm standing.
Next is Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie is Matt Bomer, Richard Gadd, John Hamm, Tom Hollander, and Andrew Scott. I think Andrew Scott is going to win. Because I feel like he's just really hot right now. Everybody's talking about him all the time.
Sure. Sign me up.
What was he in? He's in Ripley.
Yeah. I first saw him in Sherlock. I thought he was great in that.
Yeah. Next is Outstanding Talk Series. We have The Daily Show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Late Night with Seth Meyers, and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Interestingly, John Oliver's not on here, and he won, I think, last year. So I think it's probably going to be Stephen Colbert. Or no, it'll be The Daily Show because Jon Stewart came back.
Yeah, but he only comes. He does one day a week,
so he's still back.
I think give it to Colbert. How about that?
Interesting.
I don't really like a lot of the other guys.
Yeah. Next is Outstanding Reality Competition Program. We have The Amazing Race, which I didn't even know was still on. RuPaul's Drag Race, Top Chef, The Traitors, and The Voice. I'm going to say I want The Traitors to win, and I think it will win because it's such an original new show, and it's hilarious and awesome and interesting. I'm rooting for it. I hope it wins. But also, I could see RuPaul's Drag Race winning again. I think they won last year.
I got nothing on this one. I don't do the reality that much, and when I do, it's usually the trashy stuff that doesn't get.
Well, Traitors is trashy. So
it is.
Hold on.
Then I want that to win. That's what I want.
Yes. So Traitors is they take all the housewives, villains, favorite reality TV show people, and they bring them to this castle in Scotland. And then they have to solve a murder mystery. And amongst them are 3 traders that are trying to mess up their game and take money from the pot. Or take money from the pot where every week they're trying to put money in the pot. And at the end, if any of the traders make it to the end, because they vote people off every week saying if they're a trader or not, if they make it to the end, the traders get all the money. It's so good. It is so addicting. And they get the best of reality TV to be on this show. So if you've not watched it, I feel like you and Kathleen would love it.
What is it on?
It's on Peacock.
I don't have Peacock.
I can give you my login. It's fine.
No, we can't do that. Then
No,
things
we
start
don't
getting
do that.
weird.
What are you talking about? No, you didn't.
Oh, no, I mean, we shouldn't do that because then it would get weird.
Why? Because you'd watch other things.
He'd be like, what are you watching? Did you watch?
Why are you watching that show? No, but that's it. I'm interested to see who ends up
I have
winning.
one more category that's not a major category that I want to talk about.
Okay, go for it.
Outstanding guest actor in a comedy series. And the reason I want to talk about it is because our very first episode of this podcast, we talked about Ryan Gosling's Beavis. And now he's being nominated for his guest host on SNL, which was obviously vaulted by that Beavis skit.
So he's up there? Oh my God.
He's being nominated for his overall hosting of the episode, but obviously that was the thing that put people's
if he doesn't roll right, but if he doesn't roll up to the Emmys in his Beavis costume, like what are we doing?
That skit, the subtleties in his movements in that skit is what makes it so funny.
I know.
Because when she's describing it and he's looking around at everyone else because he doesn't realize it's him, that's the funniest part. I died laughing every time. So
I love Keenan. He never breaks. Keenan's
good. But here's the other part of this category is John Bernthal is nominated for The Bear. And
oh yeah, you had said that.
When I tell you that, and also Bob Odenkirk is nominated for The Bear too. And this is all about that episode that
the
Christmas,
bear is just cleaning up.
This is that episode that you even heard people talking about with Jamie Lee Curtis and all the family fighting.
Yeah.
So Bob Odenkirk plays Jamie Lee's new boyfriend or Uncle Lee, I think they call him. He's not a real uncle or something like that. Anyway, they get in this heated fight. But long story short, John Bernthal, every piece he's in flashbacks in The Bear. He's in all the flashbacks, and every scene he's in, he captivates,
steals the show.
He does, and I think he is so great that I think he should win this. But I want Ryan Gosling to win. But let me tell you, John Bernthal, I hope they bring him back as the Punisher. I would love to see that guy in Star Wars. Like, he is an underrated actor, and he's been around a long time too. Like, I saw that guy for the first time in a show called The Class, which was canceled after one season in 2006.
I mean, we could see him again in a week once they do more Daredevil stuff at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, hopefully, because his Punisher was really good. Maybe the best iteration, and I think he's just a massive actor, and I'm rooting for him. So
yeah, I see that clip of him all the time. That people, it's now a meme. Of him at the dinner table where he's like, no. Like people use that for everything now. I see it all the time. Yeah.
All right. That is it for our non-expertise, but our picks on the Emmys and our thoughts and what we're keeping an eye on there. But now it's time to talk about what we're watching.
We can never leave the house and would just probably sit around all weekend and watch TV.
Go on.
I have to really think about what I've been watching. I feel like I listed this out the other day to you. I think you should start because I think I need to literally write it out.
Okay.
I was so pumped, by the way, on our live show the other day that I was like, I've watched so many things. I now have something to say and what you're watching. And then we didn't do that segment on the live show. So I just have to take a second to think about it. But you go first because I know you have a couple things.
Yeah, no problem. And you may still have them in the show notes if they're there for you.
Oh, I'm already writing them out. I already know what they are. I'm just giving you the second. Go ahead.
So I have been watching. I rewatched. This is Spinal Tap. Love that movie. I watched WWE Raw, at least chunks of it.
You did?
I did. They're
Wow.
getting back into the soap opera-ish storytelling, which was always like I like that just as much as like a ladders match in wrestling. So
Mhm.
that's pretty interesting. Also the Acolyte, of course, Star Wars. And
Mhm.
it brings me no pleasure to say this. I was excited to see this movie. I watched the bike riders and I was very disappointed.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my god. You were so hyped. You
I
were
was hyped
so hyped for that movie. You were
because I was
so
like, "Oh, this
hyped.
feels like James Dean, a throwback to all these old school, like handsome, edgy actors and like Joe Cool and stuff." And because I like Sons of Anarchy, so I'm like, it's gonna be about this biker gang and all this stuff. And then I'm watching it, and it really focuses more. This isn't a spoiler, but it really focuses more on Jodie Comer's character and her perspective on the bike club.
Oh.
And it doesn't get into like it never gets to where it needs to about the friendship and ultimately like tension and rivals between the guys in the club, the way Sons of Anarchy did it. So
Mhm.
I felt like I got a shallow version. I never got deep. It's like when you get into a pool like knee high and you're like, I'm not going above the waist. I'm not. And you get out. That's what this felt like. It didn't go deep enough. Austin Butler didn't go deep enough, and then you have Tom Hardy. Like I felt that there was a lot missing in that movie. So
I haven't heard lots of good things about it, to be honest. Like, it was, like, there for the marketing because 'cause it's got, like, obviously attractive people in it, but other than that, I haven't seen people talk about it like people are talking about Long Legs or Twisters or
the
anything else.
concept of it
Deadpool.
is perfect, and they just didn't execute it, and that's as
Drop the
simply as
ball.
I could put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have watched, like I said, a bunch of stuff this week. I was very proud of myself to report back to you guys listening that I watched a bunch of stuff. So let's start with the TV stuff that I watched. I watched The Mole. I finished that up, the season finale. I was very surprised by who the mole was, and it was worth the watch. Very enjoyable. Made me surprisingly compare it to The Acolyte because it is an actual mystery, whereas The Acolyte is not a mystery. The mole made me go back and be like, "Oh, this moment that made sense," or "This person did this. Oh my gosh, that makes total sense." Whereas The
Mhm.
Acolyte was, as John and I talked about on TRB, is very straightforward. So I was also also watching The Acolyte season finale, which a lot of good moments there. If you want spoilers for that, head over to TRB. I don't want to
Yeah.
get into it here, just in case you haven't watched it yet. I watched Barbecue Showdown, the newest season. Um, I love barbecue. It's like one of my favorite types of food. And I found this show, I feel like it was during COVID or like right after COVID. And I was cleaning out my closet or cleaning something, and I was like, Barbecue Showdown.
Sorry,
And I got,
mama.
yeah, and it got really, I got obsessed to the point that like I stopped doing what I was doing and was just standing there watching it. It's just so interesting to hear how people, cook their food and talk about their backgrounds, and it's about their stories of, like, the love that they put in their food, and I like to hear I've gotten really into cooking over the past few years, so it's interesting to hear what people use for different sauces and rubs and stuff.
Is it like a heated show where people are like, you stole my recipe or you
No,
no.
everybody's very nice. I mean, it is competitive. So like they'll all have to run into a meat freezer, and whoever grabs their certain meat first, like that's the one they get to cook.
Oh,
So
I get you.
if you aren't quick
Yeah.
enough, you might get stuck with something bad.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, no, everyone's very friendly, which is weird because I feel like American reality shows, especially like food ones or anything like skill based, is always very kind of
Or
cutthroat.
romance based, cutthroat.
Sure, compared to like if you watch uh British Bake Off, they're always so sweet and nice to each other. Like they would be like, "Oh, you need more butter," like stuff like that. So, so anyway,
Our British audience must be like, oh, you guys.
I know I gotta practice. I really want a British accent. Um, all right. So then I also watched on TV, which is getting a step closer to movie. It's more of a long, limited series. Was The Man with 1,000 Kids,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was wild. So this dude in the Netherlands has had over, I think they said ultimately maybe 3,000 children on this planet. Ladies, what's going on? I watched this movie, and look, I'm not blaming any of the people, true victims, like terrible things. But I have to admit that a lot of them were talking through their reasoning, and they'd be like, well, he did this thing, but I was just like, oh, that's just Jonathan. That's just how he is. And I'm like, okay, that's a red flag. Don't do that. And then they'd be like, and then he also did this, which was weird, but I like totally like forgave it. And I was like, maybe you don't forgive it. And then it was like by like stage 6 of this weird behavior, I was like, oh my God. But it is a nice story about these women and their families coming together and finding positivity out of an absolutely horrific situation. So if you are interested in that kind of thing, which is talking about, you know, IVF and birth and people that want to have children that aren't able to, it's an interesting spotlight on people that take advantage of other people when they're in terrible situations, but also how the industry as a whole, like the fertility industry works, which I didn't realize. Like, it's not really regulated. It's kind of all over the place. They're just like, hey, say that you won't go donate at this other place. And they're like, yeah, I swear I won't. And then they just do it. Because there are laws where you can't donate to have more than 25 kids because they don't want these kids then growing up and then them having relationships and having kids. That's bad. So the fact that this guy has over 3,000 kids and they've created databases on like how many children this guy has is just insane. And it gets really dark and crazy. So if you're not into that, I totally understand. To get even darker on my next choice, I went kind of wild this past week. I watched the movie Civil War. I watched it during kind of some crazy days here in America. I'd heard about it. It's with Kirsten Dunst and her husband, and it's done by Alex Garland. And the story is that California and Texas decide that they don't like America anymore and they don't like the president. So they basically succeed and start a war. They do a civil war here in America. And it's like the story of Kirsten Dunst as a wartime journalist covering the Civil War in America and her trying to get from New York to DC during this war-torn era in the United States.
Why are you watching this?
Matt wanted to watch it.
But this is the stuff you actually worry about. So why are you watching this?
I know. And honestly, the point I'm making is that it was terrible. Like, not terrible in the sense of like terrible, like, oh my God, I'm so anxious about it. As in terrible, like it just seemed very much not real. Like the concept was there. Kind of like when people talk about The Purge. Like The Purge is an interesting concept. Not because it's okay and good, just because it's so crazy that you're like, what if this actually happened? So they kind of do that with this movie where they're like, what if this happened in the US, which isn't a conversation a lot of people are having right now. And I felt like it just kind of similarly to what you said earlier, John, is like, it just touches the surface. You get into kind of the shallow end of the pool. You don't get into the deep end. Also, Nick Offerman's playing like the fascist president. And that's really hard to believe because Nick Offerman's like very enjoyable, and I'm pretty sure he's very democratic, so it's hard to see him play this role.
Well, wasn't Ron Swanson like a Republican?
Not
to get political, you know what I mean? He was
I don't really know if he was not for big government, but then he worked in the government. Like, that was the joke.
And he ate meat and he was like a man. Yeah.
He's a man's man. But anyway, there were a lot, I don't want to spoil it, but basically there were a lot of choices that were made in the writing and in the filmmaking that don't make sense. Like, they kind of try to explain away issues with the story by being like, well, clearly this happened because then this happened. And if you're a logical person, you'd look at that and you'd be like, okay, well, this character would never do that. Why would they do that? That makes no sense. Like, no logical human being would do that, regardless if you're in wartime or not. So I would not recommend it. I thought it was really kind of stupid.
Interesting.
But I did look into it after the fact with the filmmaker, writer, director, Alex Garland, because one of the biggest things for those of you that aren't from America is that Texas and California team up in this movie. They're called the Western Front. Now, everybody in America knows that Texas and California have very different value systems, very different governments, very different everything. So that to begin with was very not believable. Like, how is that possible that these two things, people joined together? To which Alex Garland then went on to explain after the fact in an interview saying, well, the point is that the president was so bad that these two on separate spectrum states knew it was that bad that they joined forces to take on this fascist dictator. And I was like in my head going, okay, got it. However, if you have to sit in an interview and explain this, you didn't do a good job with your story because they don't give you any background. They just get you right into the meat of it. They're just like, here you are, you're in a war. And you're like, okay, but how do we get here? Like,
Right.
what happened? There's no like text in the beginning because I figured it was going to have text, you know, like on July, whatever, this happened. Nothing. They just get you right into it. And you're like, okay. So yeah, it is surprising I watched it. However, sometimes when you're in a couple, you say, okay, it's your turn to pick, and you deal with it accordingly.
All right. How long is this?
How long is what?
Civil War.
I think an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, all right. So we're not talking about like a 3-hour and a half epic or anything.
No, it does drag though. The pacing is so weird. It's like really long. And some of the shots you're like, okay, I could have done without like, I don't know, 32 seconds of this shot. Also, the character played by Kaylee Spaney, I think her name is. She was the one that was in Priscilla, and she's now in the new Knives Out movie. She plays a young journalist photographer. She is the most annoying character I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Like, she was completely 100% unlikable. And I
Like,
think that's how she was playing it, but like unlikable.
I was going to say, was she supposed to be unlikable?
Yes. So she was doing a great job, but
Yeah.
it was really hard to watch her on screen.
All right. Well, I will skip that.
You should skip it.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't say necessarily skip Bike Riders. Maybe you'll like it. I don't know. But yeah. All right. That's what we're watching, and that takes us to the end of the show. So we want to thank everybody for getting nerdy with us today, because Mondays are for the nerds. So we hope that we helped you enjoy your Monday just a little bit
Sorry
more.
I ended on such a terrible choice to watch. I should have flipped it and ended with Barbecue Showdown in the Mole, but
just say what you would do normally. Be like, and then I watched an episode of The Office and went to bed.
I didn't do that though. I didn't do that though. I went right to bed. I got just like, I was like, this movie sucks. I just went to bed.
I need a when I watch something serious.
Palate cleanser.
Yeah, a little cleanse it. But yeah, that we know, work on Mondays or whatever you got going on can be a little bit of a bummer after a weekend. So hopefully listening to the podcast helps kick off your weekend the right way. So thank you for listening. Whether you came from TRB or you just found us your own way, we appreciate it. So make sure you follow us at Nerdy and Nice Pod on all social media apps. And of course, youtube.com/@TRB podcasts. Both the Resistance broadcast and Nerdy and Nice are there, in addition to our other content. And then, of course, it's on its own podcast app, as we said earlier. So please find us there, follow. Because if you follow TRB on audio, that doesn't mean you're following Nerdy and Nice. So make sure, and it is free. So make sure you find it, follow it. And then, of course, Patreon, as we were brought up before. If you want to support what we do and you like how we operate here, check it out. Patreon.com/TRB podcasts. And tiers start at $5, and we have exclusive episodes, mini episodes. And we had one recently where we talked about Superman. We had a Deadpool one, some Ryan Reynolds stuff. We talked about all sorts of stuff. So check it out, and we appreciate it. Big special shout out to the Movie Star Generals and the Silver Screen Spice Runners: Carmelo, John Risi, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Danny, Mike Rumore, Brennan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, and Colin Cormier, and David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and THEFORTWORTHIAN, and all of our patrons, all of our supporters, and everyone who has decided to get nerdy with us. In addition to Star Wars, we appreciate it very, very much. Lacey, where can people chat you up about Civil War and all the other stuff you love so dearly?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran, on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. And of course, here and on TRB.
Yep, same with me. So TRB Live returns Thursday. So you've been getting used to the Wednesdays. We're sorry, but Acolyte's over, which means Acco Night's over. So now it's time to go back to TRB Live, and that's Thursday night, 8:30 East, right here on the channel and on your podcast apps for Friday morning. And then, yeah, for me, Johnny Hoey on X. It's pretty much where you can find me to talk stuff like this. And then my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. And yeah, me and Lacey coming at you twice a week with Nerdy and Nice and TRB. And that's how we do it. So thank you all so much. Lacey, anything else?
Nope.
All right. So
Happy
until
to
next
be here.
time, what?
I said just happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here too.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So for you Star Wars fans, we'll see you Thursday. For everyone else, we'll see you next Monday right here on Nerdy and Nice. So until next time, we'll see you around, kids.